Have you ever wanted to become the kind of person who cannot be emotionally destroyed? Someone criticizes you, and you don't spiral for 6 hours. Someone ignores your message, and your brain doesn't immediately launch a Netflix documentary called "Why Everyone Secretly Hates Me." Someone leaves, betrays you, disappoints you, and somehow you stay centered. Most people think this means becoming cold, detached, untouchable. The human equivalent of a concrete wall with good posture. But that is not strength. That is emotional lockdown. Real strength is not when nothing hurts you. Real strength is when something hurts you, and you don't abandon yourself because of it. And this is where Carl Jung becomes dangerous, because his message was not "be positive." His message was, what you refuse to face inside yourself will keep controlling your life from the basement. So today, we're going to talk about how to become emotionally untouchable, not by killing your feelings, but by understanding them so deeply that they stop running the show. And the first truth is uncomfortable. Most of the pain you feel is not caused by what happened. It is caused by what it activated. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger and her team ran a famous fMRI study on social exclusion. Participants played a virtual ball-tossing game called cyberball. At first, they were included. Then, suddenly, the other players stopped throwing them the ball. Nothing physical happened. No one punched them. No one stole their lunch. And yet the brain reacted as if something painful was happening. The study found activity in regions linked to physical pain, especially the anterior cingulate cortex. Later, a 2015 meta-analysis looking at 46 studies and 940 participants found that social pain consistently involved areas of the anterior cingulate cortex. Translation: rejection hurts because your brain treats social exclusion like a threat to survival. This makes sense. For most of human history, being rejected by the group was not just awkward. It could kill you. So when someone criticizes you, ignores you, or makes you feel unwanted, your nervous system may react as if you've been kicked out of the tribe and left alone with wolves. Very dramatic, very ancient, very inconvenient in a world where the tribe is sometimes just one person who left you on red. But here's the open loop. If your brain can create pain from meaning, it can also reduce pain by changing meaning. And this is where the second truth begins. You don't need to suppress your emotions. You need to name them. In 2007, psychologist Matthew Lieberman and his UCLA team studied something called affect labeling. They showed 30 people emotional facial expressions while scanning their brains. When participants simply labeled what they saw, for example, angry or afraid, their amygdala activity decreased, while areas in the prefrontal cortex became more active. The amygdala is like your brain's smoke alarm, useful when there is a real fire, extremely annoying when it screams because someone used a slightly dry tone in a text message. The prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, is the part that helps you regulate, reflect, and choose. So when you name the emotion, you are not being weak. You are literally recruiting the part of your brain that can put the emotional alarm back in its place. This is why "I'm fine" is often psychological garbage. Too vague, too fake, too corporate. Try this instead. I feel rejected. I feel embarrassed. I feel threatened. I feel afraid of losing control. That small sentence can change the system, because what remains unnamed remains in charge. But naming the emotion is only the door. The next step is realizing that your first interpretation is not always reality. In 1998, psychologist James Gross studied emotion regulation and compared two strategies: suppression and reappraisal. Suppression means hiding what you feel. Reappraisal means changing how you interpret the situation. Research on emotion regulation has repeatedly found that reappraisal is generally more adaptive than suppression. In simple terms, pretending you don't care is expensive. Reframing what happened is strategic. Someone criticizes your work. Suppression says, "I don't care." Then you go home and mentally argue with them in the shower for 42 minutes. Reappraisal says, "This comment is uncomfortable, but it may contain information. It does not define my worth." Someone rejects you. Suppression says, "Whatever, I didn't like them anyway." Very convincing. Oscar-worthy. Nobody believes you, including your nervous system. Reappraisal says, "This hurts, but rejection is not proof that I am unlovable. It is proof that this specific connection did not continue." That is emotional power. And now we reach Jung's territory, the unconscious. Jung believed that the parts of yourself you refuse to see do not disappear. They become patterns, triggers, repeated relationships, strange reactions, emotional explosions that seem to come from nowhere. But they don't come from nowhere. They come from somewhere you haven't looked. You think you're angry because someone interrupted you. But maybe you're angry because, as a child, nobody listened to you. You think you're jealous because your partner is social. But maybe you're terrified because abandonment became familiar before love did. You think you hate criticism. But maybe criticism feels like humiliation because at some point, being imperfect was unsafe. This is why Rewire Your Brain is not just a channel name. It is the actual work, noticing the old emotional wiring, interrupting the automatic reaction, and building a new response before your past hijacks your present. And no, this does not happen overnight. The brain loves old patterns because old patterns are efficient, not healthy. Efficient. Big difference. This brings us to the painful part. You cannot heal what you keep performing around. Many people don't have personalities. They have protection strategies. The funny one, who uses jokes to avoid vulnerability. The strong one, who never asks for help. The independent one, who secretly wants connection but calls it weakness. The nice one, who says yes so often their own needs are now missing persons. Jung called this mask the persona. It is the version of you built for social survival. Useful? Yes. But if you confuse the mask with your identity, you will spend your whole life being applauded for a character who is exhausted backstage. And that is where suffering becomes useful. Not pleasant. Useful. In expressive writing research, pioneered by James Pennebaker in the 1980s, participants often wrote about emotional or traumatic experiences for around 15 to 20 minutes across several sessions. The point was not to produce beautiful writing. No one was trying to win a Pulitzer for "My childhood was weird." The point was to organize emotional chaos into language. Because when pain remains a fog, it feels infinite. But when you put it into words, it becomes something you can examine. You move from "I am broken" to "I am experiencing a trigger." That shift is enormous. One sentence traps you inside the pain. The other gives you a little distance from it. And distance matters. Research by Ethan Kross and Özlem Ayduk on self-distancing has shown that when people reflect on painful experiences from a more distanced perspective, they tend to ruminate less and process emotions more constructively. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask, "Why is Alex feeling this so strongly right now?" Yes, speaking about yourself in the third person feels slightly ridiculous at first. You may sound like a retired athlete giving an interview, but it works because it creates space between you and the emotional storm. And in that space, freedom begins. This is the real meaning of becoming emotionally untouchable. It does not mean nobody can hurt you. That is fantasy. Humans are social mammals with nervous systems, not kitchen appliances. It means pain no longer owns you. You can feel rejection without becoming rejection. You can feel shame without obeying shame. You can feel anger without handing it the steering wheel. That is individuation, becoming whole. Not perfect, whole. You integrate the fear, the insecurity, the anger, the need for love, the grief, the ambition, the softness, the shadow. And once you stop exiling parts of yourself, other people have fewer buttons to press. Because the insult only destroys you when it lands on a wound you refuse to acknowledge. The rejection only annihilates you when it confirms a belief you secretly already had. The betrayal only becomes your identity when you have no deeper self to return to. So here's the practice. When something hurts, don't immediately ask, "How do I make this stop?" Ask, "Where did this hit me?" Then ask, "What story did my brain create?" Then ask, "Is this pain about the present? Or is the present waking up something older?" That is where emotional freedom starts. Not in pretending. Not in becoming cold. Not in building walls so high no one can reach you. Walls don't just keep pain out. They keep life out too. Real strength is a core, not a cage. And when you build that core, something changes. You still care, but you don't collapse. You still love, but you don't beg to be chosen. You still feel fear, but fear no longer writes your life script. So if this video gave you a moment of clarity, write in the comments, "I choose awareness," because that is the first step. Not, "I choose to be numb," not, "I choose to be untouchable." I choose awareness. And once you choose that, the world may still hurt you, but it will no longer own you.